candles light your face.
It's been a while.
But I can still remember just the way you taste.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Amazing. Very good. Very well done.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah. It got a little bit like a wrestler near the end.
Sunday.
Oh, brother, we have an episode for you.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions.
Let me tell you something about our producer.
Brother.
They're all just Hollywood. They're all Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Oh, what you gonna? Did you see the Hogan movie they're making?
Well, Chris Hemsworth got cast.
Yeah,
because every fucking headline was like Thor becomes Hulk.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, that's like my 90% of the reason why they did it.
Think of the headlines. Yeah.
Well, speaking of headlines, let's head into the news. So, Matt Fraction, Greg Rucka are writing a Superman spin-off series this year.
Right. So, yeah, Matt Fraction, who wrote an incredible run on Hawkeye, as well as things like Sex Criminals and stuff like that. And Greg Rucka, who very famously has like a couple of great runs of Wonder Woman, as well as many, many other things. Very prolific writers. Well, there's actually 2 Superman spin-off series coming.
Well, this one is specifically focusing on Jimmy Olsen.
Yes.
Which is tying into the whole Leviathan thing.
Yes, we're getting a Jimmy Olsen series. It's not, I don't think they're calling it Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. I think it's just called Jimmy Olsen or something. But,
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, yeah.
But yes, Jimmy is getting a series. It does tie into Leviathan and what Bendis is doing with that.
And Lois Lane is getting one.
Lois Lane's getting a series. I've already put it on my list. I didn't actually put the Jimmy one on my list just because I can only buy so many things before my wife leaves. But the Lois Lane one, I was like, yep, get it. So
yeah, I'm
super looking forward to it. I've actually specifically, I know the Leviathan thing is exciting because it's like a big story, but I'm more excited about the Lois Lane one because it's the thing that we talk about sometimes about the superheroes that have other jobs that, like, wouldn't it be neat to see a bit more of that? Wouldn't it be neat to see Barry more as a CSI, Bruce more as a detective, Martian Manhunter more as a detective, but with Lois be like, great, let's get like a journalism comic book. Let's see her like investigating and, what are the journalistic ethics of the thing she's doing? Can she write it even though she, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. I legitimately want a comic book like that. So my hopes are pretty high for that Lois Lane one, because it would be so dope to see something lean. I mean, it's in the world of superheroes. You can't remove Lois Lane from that, but maybe something that leans a little differently, and I think even in recent years, Lois parts of Superman stories have been pretty good about her researching and investigating and stuff like that. But it'd be cool to let's just go all in on that. Let's get like, who is the best journalist in DC? Let's follow that. I would love that.
Absolutely. Well, a classic Batman villain is returning in Detective Comics Annual number 2. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
The Reaper.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. We're going to get basically the return of the Black Case book, a record of Batman's earliest adventures. But the occasion doesn't just bring back one of Batman's most disturbing cases, but also the Reaper, which hasn't been seen since like 1991's Batman's Full Circle.
And even that is like, that's also calling back to an earlier era, right?
Yeah.
Like even then it's like, hey, remember this guy?
Well, yeah, the most like notable appearance was in like 1987, though there's been like a bunch of Reapers throughout time, but
he's the one that he's like a Holocaust survivor.
He's like the primary antagonist of Batman Year 2.
Right. Yeah. And he's got a bit of a history with Hugo Strange and Black Mask and stuff like that too, if it's the one that I'm thinking of.
I think so.
I think he's like died and been resurrected before and stuff like that. Oh yeah, interesting. I didn't know that was happening. That's pretty cool. You know what? I mean, I'm all in for like stuff like that, or like referencing kind of like even the things that are out of date, but being like, no, this is still part of Batman's history. Just because we don't talk about it all the time doesn't mean it's gone forever. Like I thought Zero Year did a good job of that when they brought in what's his name, Dr. Death, and what Snyder and Capullo did with Dr. Death, who's a very, very early Batman adversary, but they totally they gave him something new. They changed him up a bit. So I'm curious to see what they do with the Reaper, because Detective Comics 1000 is also introducing for the first time in the DCU the Arkham Knight. So I wonder if they're connected at all, or is the annual just its own story?
I believe it is.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Have you been continuing reading Doomsday Clock?
Well, I would if it would come out.
Well, some news about the next issue in May, which is that apparently Doomsday Clock's going to reveal the truth behind Rebirth.
Well, yeah, I mean that's been the whole thing with this series. So when DC Rebirth came out, we saw the blue energy, we saw the hand, and at the end of that book there's the captions and it says like nothing ever ends, Adrian. Like we've known about Dr. Manhattan for a long time, and then Doomsday Clock number 8 I guess is the last one that actually came out, because 9 got pushed back, and even one before that, Doomsday Clock 7 marked the very, very first full appearance where it's not in shadow or something of Dr. Manhattan in the DC universe. Like, we know he's in there. In that book, he talks about how he's been already messing with stuff. Like, he moved the lantern like a few inches out of Alan Scott's reach, so he died instead of getting the power of the Starheart and things like that. So we already know that he's influenced the Rebirth continuity and that it's his doing, but we don't know fully why or how it's going to get fixed. We know that we're coming up to a confrontation with Superman, and that Dr. Manhattan can't see his own future beyond this fight with Superman. So his question to himself is
like, where does this go?
Does Superman destroy me, or do I destroy everything? And he doesn't know yet.
Whoa.
Even Dr. Manhattan is unsure of the outcome. So I know we got a little bit of a tease for Doomsday Clock 10 that we'll get a view of the Justice Society again, like probably from like before they've been erased by Manhattan. But there's a lot of things coming together and a lot of things coming back. But yeah, I just need it to come out. Like, it was supposed to be monthly, and then it was like, now it's every 2 months. It was like, you know what? It's a really good story, and they're big books, and the art's fantastic. Sure.
This feels a little Game of Thrones to me.
And
I
then
don't
it's
know.
like, well, oh my God, it better not be like that.
Yeah, this is going to be the...
Kill me.
Doomsday Clock, the Fire and Ice. Is that the...
No, I mean, and it is what it is. These things happen. The delays happen, and I still love the story. I'm hooked. I'm not dropping it or anything, but like, it does kill the momentum, like, it's hard to sustain a level of excitement or suspense or mystery when now you have to wait like 3 months for the next issue. That's tough, so as it comes out, I'm still pumped for it. And when all 12 issues are out, then I'm going to obviously go back. I'm going to read the whole thing.
I'm going to get the trade. That's what I'm waiting for. Yeah.
Like, I'll do that like 2 or 3 times to make sure that I got everything and that I've actually like got the full story start to finish. But
so currently there's a couple different Superboys out there.
There are.
But
that's right, because we have John Kent, the son of Clark and Lois.
That's right.
But Bendis has brought out of obscurity, out of like continuity jail, has brought back Con-El, the clone Superboy, who's a product of Superman and Lex Luthor. He's brought him back for Young Justice.
And so he's recently said that apparently they're going to be doing some rebranding on Superboy, and he's going to get he'll get a new code name.
Yeah, did he say which one is getting the new code name? Though?
No,
because John Kent right now has been like
I think it might be
artificially aged. Like he's supposed to be much younger, but he's kind of grown up since he's gone off with Jor-El. Something has happened, and he's come back like he's like 17 somehow.
Yeah. So during an AMA with Bendis on Reddit, the writer was asked whether he had any plans to introduce the two characters together. And Bendis revealed that John and Connor will meet and work that out on panel, I promise. He added that, yes, there will be a rebranding and some new looks. Change is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so down for. I mean, how many different iterations of Bat something are there?
Yeah,
you know, Bat man, girl, woman, wing.
Well, like even Clark Kent was Superboy at one point. Like,
well, yeah. So the original Superboy was just young Superman, like the Superboy from like the 60s and 70s. The Superboy comics. That's just young Superman. But yeah, that was the original Superboy. Post Crisis, Superboy was Con-El, who showed up, you know, as after the death of Superman. And then, yeah, in this rebirth era, it's been John Kent. So there's never really been, other than when they do like parallel Earth encounters, there's never really been multiple Superboys at once.
No.
So yeah, I'm curious like what the new name will be, if it'll be Super something, or if they just get a totally different name, or yeah, you know, what do you call them, like Super Kid, Super Dude, Mr. Super. Like, I don't know. That's just the guy that fixes your sink.
That's amazing. Well, switching over to the other of the big three is we're getting some more information about the Matt Reeves Batman movie.
A little bit more.
A little bit, yeah. But I thought the one that that tickled me a little was apparently he quoted saying this Batman movie is going to focus on his detective mode a little bit more,
which is dope. And like we just were talking about, you know, we've talked about that a lot. That's a thing you want to see more of.
I fucking hope we get a noir Batman.
But he's also not the first person to say that. You know what I mean?
But we've never gotten it.
Well, even Nolan was like, I think, thought of his Batman more that way, but like,
no,
it was really just like, Lucius, use the computer for me, please.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It
like,
wasn't.
It didn't actually. He wasn't actually detecting anything.
So what he said was, it's more Batman in his detective mode than we've seen in films. The comic has a history of that. He's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, and that's not necessarily been a part of the movies we've had. I'd love this to be one where when we go on that journey of tracking down the criminals and try to solve a crime, it's going to allow his character to have an arc so that he can go through a transformation. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just funny that it doesn't have, because it's not like detective movies don't exist. Like, well, there's so fucking many of them.
Yeah.
You know, like there are lots, you know, any movie where someone's hunting a serial killer is like, here's a clue, here's who I think it is. Oh, it wasn't them, blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like the format, the structure of a detective movie exists, but it's just never like they've never fully managed to apply it to Batman somehow.
If they're focusing on it, maybe we'll get a little bit more of like maybe we'll get a Riddler as a villain?
I mean, Riddler would make sense. I think it also makes sense to introduce maybe more underworldy
going crime syndicate.
You know, I mean, Black Mask is going to be in Birds of Prey, but you can reference, you know, but you know, Penguin,
make
or,
it just
you know, you can have Falcone or
make it more of like a crime syndicate, kind of more of like Batman animated series, like first season kind of thing.
I mean, I think that stuff makes sense. Two-Face, you know, is still like a villain that makes sense in that. I mean, if it's early career, maybe he's not Two-Face yet, but it's just that like all of those pieces feel right. Those sort of pulpy.
I would love to see like a Zodiac type movie with
Calendar
Batman.
Man. Do fucking Calendar Man. Yeah. You know, like do like a not silly, like almost like a Long Halloween, but instead of it being Alberto Falcone, just make it fucking Calendar Man.
Yeah.
He's making holiday kills and
but
Batman
make it
can't.
like a legit serial killer type of situation. I think that would be so unlike any of the other Batman movies.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Zaz, again, showing up in Birds of Prey, but like all of these characters are ones that make sense for that. Deacon Blackfire, where he's like, I mean, you can do it maybe where he has some demonic kind of powers, but Deacon Blackfire is at his core, he's like a cult leader who like abuses and like leads / kills the homeless. Like you can. There's so many characters you could use for something that's going to be maybe a little bit more focused on like, what are the clues? Where does this lead? I need to get a few steps ahead, but I'm not there yet kind of story, right?
Oh man, that'd be so rad. So we've been getting a little bit of Aquaman stuff starting to come out about the second movie. But one of the things that I really loved featuring Jason Momoa was there was recently an Instagram like story video that he put out of him at Warner Brothers studio. And it sort of teases like the future of DC, but more of just in like esoteric terms. But I just love this video so much because of how pumped Jason Momoa is. Have you seen this video?
I haven't, but
I'll show it to you.
I believe it because he's so enthusiastic. He's put like, you can tell he's put all of his sort of like heart and love into being Aquaman and being a part of those movies and things like that. Also, since we're on the subject, did you see his fucking Dusty Rose tux?
Oh my God, that suit at the Oscars?
It's like, oh, goddamn. I mean, him and Lisa Bonet just looked amazing anyway, but he also had a matching scrunchie to his tux. And I was like, you fucking beautiful man.
It was
I love him.
So good. Also, I mean, I didn't put it in the news, but like, congrats, like Black Panther.
Holy shit. Amazing. I tweeted about it. I mean, Black Panther won 3 Oscars. They won Best Original Score, Costume Design, and Production Design. Costume Design and Production Design were the ones that I was like, oh my God, give it to Black Panther. Because, creating that world, and it's such like a crazy blend of like future tech, but also something very traditional,
Yeah.
Like even how their capes, when they put their capes up, their robes up, and then it makes like the force field thing. Like it's so ingenious, that stuff, and it's so beautiful and so intricate.
Some of the best costume design I've seen.
And I read a thing, this is possibly unverified, but that there are only 3 black women ever to win an Oscar not for acting. 2 of them were last night.
Wow. That's
we're designers last night.
That's amazing.
So, even, it's also... It's important that way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really pumped to see Black Panther win those.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's watch this video because it just puts me in a good mood.
I love him so much.
He's the best.
What I don't think they could ask. I mean, between him and Zachary Levi, Gal Gadot as well. But just in terms of energy, he and Zachary Levi are such incredible ambassadors. Gal Gadot is She's obviously way up there too.
And like she really brings in like,
that's the thing. She kind of like reins it back in a bit and be like, no, like, but
this is serious art.
We're making good movies.
Yeah.
We're working very hard at this. And Momoa's just like, I'm fucking the king of the fucking sea. Like,
and Zachary Levi is like, oh golly, how did I even get here?
Well, Zachary Levi is like, hey guys, stop being dicks to Brie Larson.
Right.
So between the 3 of them. Amazing. Great ambassadors. So yeah, I mean, he says you have no idea what's coming. Could mean Aquaman 2. Could just mean the films in general. But I just love how excited he gets. It's hard not to be excited with him.
So, and also we got a little piece of information about Aquaman, which is that one of the writers from the first movie is going to be writing the second movie.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Not a huge piece of news, but it gets me excited.
Just a little consistency though, too,
And I think with Jason Momoa making that video, you can at least think that like whatever is happening is enough that he's that excited about it.
I'm sure this isn't what he was excited about, but is it bad that I want them to cut off his hand in the second one?
Yeah.
I want a fucking hook hand.
I know.
Because I mean, if you're ever going to cast an actor to play hook hand Aquaman, it's Jason Momoa.
It's true. He is the perfect actor to go like the piratey route.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it makes a ton of sense.
I think you could watch Aquaman and put like the theme from Pirates of the Caribbean over it, and it works. And I think that's my favorite Aquaman.
Oh my God.
Something kind of swashbuckly.
Well, it's like how they're going with Thor and like making him the like one-eyed like.
Well, yeah, and yeah, I think it's about finding like something that's not necessarily like weird for weird's sake, but unique, like
comic accurate.
Like Thor Ragnarok leaned into the Kirby kind of weirdness, but it had like the techno thing. Like it felt very like 80s.
Yeah. Oh,
Running Man.
Yeah.
Kinda, like,
yeah.
Sort of thing.
Very like 80s sci-fi for sure.
Yeah. And I think that was what was fun about it. I think it'd be cool to see Aquaman go a little bit swashbuckly. I would dig on that, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Have you been reading Batman Damned?
I have not.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because they're canceling the series. Number 3 orders.
What a fucking misstep.
Yeah.
Because they made all that big deal about the fucking bat penis.
Insane. I can't believe
it was called Black Label. And they were like mature readers, and then everyone flipped their shit, and then DC was like, "Oh my god, you're right. We can't have a penis." Again, we're talking about things like momentum or whatever. Do you like? There's no way Batman Damned would get canceled. Certainly not at 3 issues if it didn't have that first issue controversy.
No, it's true.
It's
true.
If they had just held their ground and been like, "We told you," like Black Label, adult readership. Like if they had just, instead of like compromising there, if they hadn't backtracked and tried to please everyone and made a big mess out of it, there's no way it would get canceled on its 3rd issue.
Well,
but you kill momentum, you kill goodwill, you kill all that stuff when you start doing that stupid shit.
Well, keeping in line with that, speaking of public perception, canceling a series, we're not getting the Second Coming is not happening.
Yeah, that's right. That was the one where Jesus comes
Superman
back and has it's like a superhero roommate. Yeah. Well, DC was like, we can't do this. And I think someone else was like, we'll do it.
It's insane. Yeah. So at least like
Image or Dark Horse or someone was like, well, we'll do it.
But I can't. I think it was supposed to be, was it Vertigo?
I just thought it was main DC, actually. I didn't even think it was Vertigo.
It was a Vertigo title.
Yeah. Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, then what the fuck, man?
I know. That's what but apparently over 227,000 people signed that petition. There's not even that many comic book readers.
Well, but this is the thing. Those are 227,000 people that were never going to read it in the first place. That's not, you're not saying like, oh, there were 230,000 people that were ready to buy the book until they found out it was about Jesus. You know what I like? No. Again, just put it out. Maybe it bombs, but like, I hate this fucking kowtowing thing. Like, if you're not being explicitly racist, homophobic, things like that, just let the art stand, right? If it's not hate speech,
it's not Muhammad.
Well, exactly, right? If they were doing a book like that, then like, yeah, you better pull that fucking book. That's a bad idea.
Yeah,
but yeah, well, whatever. I mean, that's how a corporate engine works, right? That's an unfortunate reality of the business.
Well, let's talk about something positive, something that is coming. That there's been getting a ton of press this week, which is Deceased.
Yeah, Tom Taylor, like king of building like Twitter excitement, he just started like teasing random things about like deaths and just saying #deceased, so like DC East. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that he put out there was he took like Tom King's Mitch Gerads like Darkseid is.
Yeah.
He just put out Darkseid was. And then everyone was like, what the fuck? But basically it's going to be like a zombie story. It's Elseworlds. It's not main continuity, but basically I think the idea is that Darkseid releases like a rage zombie virus on Earth to wipe it out. But he gets it too, and it's basically like the DC universe succumbing to like a 28 days later type.
So do you think that it's going to be like we're going to like Justice League is going down? Like,
I mean, Tom Taylor is the guy who wrote the Injustice comic books, so I think so, because he's kind of a master now of like great character moments, but also like taking everything you love away from you. Like he's written some of the most heartbreaking like comic book deaths I've ever read. Dick Grayson, Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Even like Kyle Rayner dies so like just quietly in space, being like drawn and quartered, and you're like, oh Jesus, like. It's so much of that stuff, right?
Well, and we're getting an artist who's no stranger to zombies with Stefano Gaudiano, who's from The Walking Dead.
Yeah. I'm very excited, but I think it's like a 6-issue miniseries. I think I assume this is deliberate too. I think it times out that like the 6th issue comes out in October. So it'll all be done for Halloween.
That's fun. My only concern with this is I hope it's not too much like The Blackest Night.
I think it won't be, because I think they made they've been very specific about saying like rage zombie. Like I think it's supposed to be this very like fat, like almost like it makes them cannibals as opposed to they are dead. And
that's a thin line, though. That's not that different.
Well, but are they dead and resurrected, or is this just about them losing their minds?
Yeah,
and I think there is, even if practically like you're still talking about a world where society crumbles, blah blah blah.
But also just like panel for panel, is it just a bunch of like people that going crazy, and like that's my concern is like, are you gonna put this side by side and visually it's gonna look too similar? I
suspect it will have more deaths than Blackest Night.
Yeah. And
Blackest Night leaned a lot on people already dead.
Yeah, we're not bringing people back, which is good. I think that is the distinction.
If it's anything
right?
like Injustice, it'll be more like you'll be watching the pieces fall as opposed, because really Blackest Night, a few people die in the outset and a bunch of people are already dead. But once you sort of set up your core characters, they don't go anywhere. Blackest Night like doesn't keep really, for the most part, killing a bunch of like you don't get into issue 4 and then they kill Barry again or something like that, right? Like I think this book will be more. It'll be more like watching The Walking Dead, where it's like, fuck, like how far do you make it? Like,
yeah, like I hope that they don't have powers still when they're dead.
Right, sure. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
That would be a concern of mine. What I would hope is that they really go deep on the tropes of zombie movies and media, where it's like people are trapped in a room and like things are trying to bust through the door.
I think the thing with making it a virus too is that maybe you're less inclined to try and punch your way out of it. Blackest Night was like, this corpse is reanimated, punch it till it stays
exactly
down.
Yeah, this is more like I can't get too close, because
Blackest Night technically has a bit of like, I think as Donna Troy gets bitten and some weird shit happens to her, but it's still more like we could just keep punching them or take their rings or whatever. Whereas if it's like we cannot catch what this thing has.
Exactly. Like that's what I'm hoping for, where it's like our powers are useless at this point.
Yeah.
Like, though there is an imagery of just Batman punching his way through a SWAT team that's undead.
Right.
That's surfaced.
Is it bad that I want Batman to go down early?
I kind of hope so too.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love Batman and I love the idea of a guy who could beat anything.
That's the thing. Like, he's the one that could save everything.
But if you take Batman out early, then it's like really hopeless.
Well, because he's the one that could
synthesize a cure.
He's the one who could synthesize a cure. He's the one that could figure out how to keep everybody safe. He's the one he doesn't have powers, so he can utilize his intelligence.
You take their biggest advantage away from them, like more than Superman or anything like that. I think if you kill Batman early, then it's like, oh fuck, like what are they gonna do?
How much do you want that piece of art though?
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking, it's so cool.
That's Capullo, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome looking.
Oh god, it's so cool. What's another artist Trevor Harrison sign?
Oh, okay.
From Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh, it looks so much like Capullo's.
It's
like
him.
New 52 stuff.
It's him and Stefano Gaudiano or whatever. Right. Which it feels very like Walking Dead art, so it doesn't surprise me that much. But I'm stoked for this. I actually think this will be a lot of fun. Which DC needs a little bit,
Tom, like I said, Tom Taylor has proven that he understands these characters too. He can give them heart. He can write true to their voice, and then also deliver something that's like outrageous and terrifying and heartbreaking, and yeah,
totally. So we know that Gerard Way's working with DC. But we're finally getting some.
Has been for a while.
Yeah. But we're finally revealing some details for his new Young Animal titles.
Okay.
Have you read these yet at all?
I haven't.
So obviously we're getting Doom Patrol.
Yeah, of course. I think that's a cornerstone. You can't have like your weird title imprint without a Doom Patrol.
No, for sure. But then we're getting Shade the Changing Girl.
Yeah, which we had before, so those
Yeah.
two are back. Okay.
So those two are back. We're getting Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye.
3 back.
So-
are they just all coming back?
And Mother Panic.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's the 4. That's the
Yeah.
lineup. Yeah, that was a weird one, like because they all went on this big hiatus, and I wonder what the recalibration is, because it is a little bit weird to just be like, and the 4 titles are back. Like we've been off for 5 months or like whatever. Like that's a little bit strange. So I wonder what the change will be that we mark. But yeah, I mean, all of those were awesome books.
So in a statement, he said, "I'm thrilled to help bring DC's young animals to life, having been raised on an experimental 80s and 90s takes on heroes.
Yeah.
I see Young Animal as a place to try ideas following the spirit of those books from the past, but bringing them somewhere else. I see it as an imprint where we can explore fine art, bold concepts, mature themes, and strangeness with a lot of heart."
Yeah.
So I'm stoked for this. I mean, he's a very like Grant Morrison inspired writer. So
absolutely.
So I think like taking Grant Morrison's title and trying to like prove himself as a writer, I think against that, I think there's going to be a little bit of that, so I think we're in store for something really interesting.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and the first go around with Young Animal was awesome. They were great books, and the crossover that they did between all the Young Animal titles and like the main DC like Justice League titles, Milk Wars, was like hilarious and weird, and it was everything that if you like Morrison and and stuff like that, it was everything you would have wanted.
But anyways, we're getting another Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's Batman TMNT 3 coming this spring.
Keep them coming. I also heard, maybe this was just something made up, but I could have sworn I saw something about them maybe doing something animated with that.
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't read that.
Maybe it was just a pitch or something. I shouldn't feed the fake
rumor
news,
mill. Yeah,
but
that would be rad.
But yeah, I mean,
have you read these?
Yeah, they're a ton of fun.
Are they?
They're awesome.
Of course they. I mean, of course they are. Right? Like,
get like, yeah, it's just they weirdly work well together. Like you on the surface, you'd be like, these are incompatible, but like martial arts training, a city under control of organized crime,
considering
like hide in the sewers or like in the caves.
Yeah,
they're actually perfect together. They're really, really great.
Considering what they've done with Scooby-Doo series, I feel like we're primed for something like this. By the way, has DC ever worked with WWE? It feels like a thing that would happen.
I think that there maybe have been like the one-off, like they sometimes do those weird promotional things or whatever. I'm sure they've done one in the past.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, wasn't wasn't Sergeant Slaughter like from G.I. Joe? Didn't he become like a real life wrestler? Or the other way around? Wasn't Sergeant Slaughter a wrestler that they then made part of G.I. Joe continuity?
I mean, that sounds like something.
Yeah.
Well, continuing on this train of like one shots is DC's going to release a 25-cent one shot comic in May called Year of the Villain.
Yes, that's right.
So we know the first one's going to be called City of Bane.
Ooh, it's my city,
and I'm Bane. Hence, should
do you get it?
Because it's a city and I'm Bane.
No, this book's title must be more literal.
Oh, the weather's changing. More like the City of Rain.
Jesus Christ.
He's a bad guy, but he's got a sense of humor,
Or it's French. Maybe it's City of Bread. City of Pain.
Yeah, so in addition, the issue will preview an upcoming Batman storyline titled City of Bane. We don't know much at this point, but
I mean, Bane has been like a recurring and constant threat to Batman in the Rebirth era.
Yeah,
like from I Am Suicide, from that arc onward, Batman and Bane have been like at each other. Bane has been like many steps ahead. Bane ordered the hit on Dick Grayson that turned him into fucking Rick Grayson. Bane! Bane has been behind a lot in this Tom King run of Batman.
Great hardcore band. I really like Bane.
Bomb.
Oh God. So earlier on, I think last year we got the release of Batman the Animated Series in Blu-ray.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you get that yet?
No, but I don't really do the like multiple format thing. I already have a bunch of that series in DVD. I can't justify
I don't have it. I'm waiting to get an upgraded TV, and then I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I just can't justify the expense. I would love to, but
well, here's an expense you might be able to justify.
Oh God,
we're getting a Batman the Animated Series new action figures.
Oh no, I saw this.
Fuck, they look like the style of the actual art.
But it was like Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm.
And
so this is the one that I saw.
Oh yeah, the Red Hood one. The Red Hood one looks fucking dope. I love the white streak in his hair. Like,
it
like
looks exactly like
that he's died and come back.
It looks exactly like the for like the TV show.
Oh yeah, it's exactly. Now are these real? I actually, when I saw them, I thought they were like fan design.
No. DC is expanding their store.
Oh fuck, that Red Hood one looks amazing. Deathstroke looks dope. And there's a third one too that I can't remember what it was, but
so they posted it and they released. I think it was the New York Toy Fair this year. They were first shown, but they're going out for purchase. So
those are awesome. I could probably justify that.
Yeah, I think I can figure it. I think I can figure it out of my budget. You know.
Yeah, I'll make it work.
Well, speaking of DC action
baby
figures,
can skip lunch.
Yeah, who needs lunch anyway? It's called intermittent starving.
Yeah, work, the baby can take
intermittent fasting. She can get used to.
Baby can take a working lunch.
Well, speaking of DC collectibles,
sure,
it doesn't. The buck doesn't stop there. Walmart's about to carry a whole new collection. Yeah,
is this just Walmart in the States, like the comics, or are we going to get it too?
That's a great question. I don't know. But they've had like the black and white series has been a staple of a DC. Yep. And its highest selling products for fans of the Dark Knight figures. The new partnership adds to the already growing toy line and giant comic series put in Walmart stores. Should the partnership continue, we can expect so many more great things coming into stores soon. So in February, we're getting oh my God, there's so many like different Batmans.
Like this is February, like they're already out.
Yeah, Batman by Amanda Conner,
Amanda Conner stuff.
Yeah,
oh nice.
Batman by Darwin Cook, Batman by Jason Fabok, Batman by Patrick Gleason.
I do love this like artist series one where it's
so we're getting all Batman in February, and then April we're getting Harley Quinn by Bruce Timm, Robin by Frank Quitely.
Oh shit!
Yeah. June, you're getting The Joker by Jim Lee. Penguin by Brian Boland in August. This is gonna be so
I'd be down for the Amanda Conner stuff. Amanda Conner again. She's the one that drew that Green Arrow Black Canary wedding special.
Right.
She drew Starfire and she draws Harley Quinn and stuff like that.
So, and you can get more information on dccollectibles.com. So,
well, it's like a deferred mortgage payment.
Look like a divorce. And final piece of news today. We got a lot of news, and I cut out some.
Wow.
A sad piece of news, but one I think that we've been sort of preparing ourselves for, which is that the CW's Flash is probably going to lose one of its stars.
Oh, the Flash? Well, I mean, it's Cisco is leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now there's been a bunch of reports coming out. And I think that we've been preparing for this for a while, but there was never a lot of reports coming out about it, but just some rumors. So I think now it's...
And that happens. People get other projects.
Also, I just think that
they haven't really used him well lately. And I don't know if he was like, I'm not being used well, I'm leaving, or if... he is doing other things and they were like, we can't use him the way we want to. And then he was like, well, I should just go do these other things. Who knows what it is? But yeah, Cisco is leaving. But silver lining for people like Richard and I.
Yes.
The report is that Arrow is going to end after season 8.
Really?
Which I think lends credence to the idea that Oliver maybe sacrificed himself to the Monitor.
Oh, yeah.
So post-crisis, because I think the report is that post-crisis, it's all going to be one universe. Supergirl won't be a different Earth.
Yeah,
it's all going to be one universe. And I think the thing that I read was maybe the idea that like, kind of like what's happening with the MCU, that maybe a couple of series will end, like Arrow and Legends, but Batwoman is coming in there, and maybe like there'll be a new crop of CW hero show. You know what I mean? Like there'll be some leave, Flash kind of bridges a little bit, some start up, Flash ends, other things, so that there's a bit of continuity, but it can keep growing and evolving. So,
totally.
I mean, things are changing in the CW and the Arrowverse,
which it needs to. I think you need to have a change like this, right? I did just read that apparently part of the reported reason why Carlos Valdez will be leaving the show is that so he can resume his career on Broadway.
Oh, fair enough. He's a fucking great singer.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, because we did get a piece of that in that one musical episode, right?
He's such a good singer.
By the way,
he's got a soulful voice.
Side note, you haven't been watching The Orville, have you?
No.
You are gonna fucking love it. You are going to fucking.
There are only so many hours in the day.
Imagine if they took Star Wars,
like television deficit.
Imagine if they took
insurmountable
Star Trek the original series and TNG and put them together.
Right.
That's this show.
I finally get my Kirk fucks Picard fanfic.
Yeah, that's episode 1. But
I'll turn off the podcast.
But in one of the newest episodes, the guy that plays like the kind of fuck off like asshole guy who's kind of the jokester.
Right.
He's also like this amazing pilot.
Right.
In the newest episode, like they always play him like he's this fucking like dirtbag pervert like sort of idiot. And randomly in the new episode, they were just like, hey, like this character is going to be leaving the ship. And everybody likes him. Suddenly they're throwing a party, and that like dirtbag guy just goes like, "Hey, this is for you," and then sings like the most amazing ballad I've ever heard. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Oh yeah, he's an actor. I guess he would probably be good at singing."
Yeah, right.
Like, but it's just like you never like you just always are just like, "Oh, that guy." Like,
it's like how I only clued in like a month ago that the guy that plays Stamets on Discovery is fucking Mark from Rent.
Oh my God! Right?
I was like, that's where I know him from.
By the way, I just finished.
I'm a couple episodes behind.
Okay,
the last episode that I saw was the Big Saru one. I haven't seen since, so don't.
I think that is.
No, I mean like the one where like the.
Oh.
Yeah. I haven't seen past that.
I just saw the episode past that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. Like,
or I just watched an episode like season 2, episode 5.
Right, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, 6 is out. I'm gonna watch that tomorrow. Actually, I'm not even done 5. I think I have it open on my screen. Yeah, I'm not even halfway.
You're watching it right now.
No, I'm
Richard questions.
Well, speaking
Spore
of
Drive.
Speaking of the questions, this theme we're talking as apropos of this month, Black History Month. We're talking black characters in DC,
and let's put it out there. No one is more qualified to talk about this
than 2 white guys in Canada.
Than us.
Yeah.
We are the whitest, straightest. Well, no. It's okay. We're the whitest.
Yeah.
Guys that could be talking.
I think you say straight with a question mark at the end. I think that's straight?
I'm
straight?
We're all on the scale.
Yeah, we got wives. I think that's as...
But I'm between a 1 and a 2.
On a scale of 1.
The Kinsey scale. So it's 1 to 6.
Oh.
Or 0 to 6 or something like that. Whatever. I'm in the point where, like, if it came up, I'd probably make out with Jason Momoa.
In a scale of 1 to 6, I'm 69. Jesus Christ.
I wish I didn't find some of that funny.
You love it. It's okay. All right. Well, we have a fuck ton of questions on this episode. Holy shit. And we're already almost an hour in. So let's.
Oh, Jesus. Let's do this.
Yes. All right. So let's on head to Facebook.
Go to the Facebook. Go to the Facebook.
That's right. And the one and only question on Facebook we have is, of course, from the most interesting resident of all, Roland Sebas.
Ooh, Roland Sebas.
I give me another beer for Roland Sebas. I don't always listen to podcasts, but occasionally it's Dr. DC.
But occasionally, it's not.
Yeah,
even
no.
That's the only one I listen to. It's just like, if I'm feeling it.
If there's nothing else released on the Wednesday, listen to.
Yeah, we got to pick a day with like the least podcast release.
That was kind of my initial attention, and now there's a bunch that I listen to that are released on Wednesday.
Yeah, whatever.
More podcasts need to release on Mondays, I think, or Sundays. No podcast release on Sundays.
Yeah, there's not many.
So basically, I get like after Thursday, it's sort of nothing left. I get occasionally I'll get a Sunday, but it's rare.
Yeah,
mostly like the Patreon episodes I have. There's one that releases on Sunday, and I get lucky, but otherwise nothing. Anyways, let's see what Roland has to ask.
Let's have it.
Roland says, Dwayne McDuffie created Icon as a Superman-like character. Can you explain him to people who might not know him at all? His only DC appearance I can think of is in Young Justice Season 2, I think.
I actually think it's Season 1.
Oh, fuck you, Roland Sabas.
And with that, next question. So
ask your question right, so don't ask it at all.
So,
Scruff Mugger.
No.
Scruff Neeson.
You're just referencing something that I made you cut out of this episode.
Not if I keep bringing it up.
So Icon, so Dwayne, let's back up. Dwayne McDuffie, very iconic black creator and co-creator of what's called Milestone Media, which was like a whole sort of imprint, a whole world of comics that were, largely black, but basically promoting diversity and things like that. Icon was sort of like the Superman of Milestone. So he's like rocketed away from his planet as a baby and lands in like the 1830s in like a cotton field in the South.
Oh.
And the ship sort of morphs his physique to look human, and this like slave finds him and raises him. Now he grows to adulthood, but doesn't really age past that, or if he does, it's very slowly. So every once in a while, he sort of reinvents his identity as like the child of the previous one, and his name is like Augustus something. But by the time you get to the modern day, he's like Augustus something the fourth.
Okay.
He's so he keeps like having to like
be the child of himself.
We talked about this with Wonder Woman, that every once in a while she's like, gotta get a new job. Everyone else is retiring. So he does that, and he lives in Dakota City, which is like the main city of Milestone. So Icon has many of Superman's powers, like he's basically invulnerable. Yeah. He can be hurt by some things, but he does have a bit of a healing factor. He's super strong. He is fast. He can fly, all those kind of things. That sort of like standard, like super packet of powers. Mm-hmm. But his personality is a lot different. He's very, I would say maybe more withdrawn and more emotionally distant even than Martian Manhunter. Like Superman, like Clark Kent is out there and Superman is like, oh, isn't it nice to be at a wedding? Like Icon is just like we have a job to do. He's very sort of removed. But that's essentially, he's like the Superman of Milestone. Now, technically, Milestone does exist within the DC universe. It sort of was folded in. Sometimes that happens more than others. Technically, in the New 52, all those characters exist in DC. We just haven't seen them in a while, but I assume in Rebirth, they still exist. He does show up in season 1 of Young Justice, there is a whole storyline with it because he's admitted to the League. Superman thinks he might be Kryptonian because they have similar powers, etc., etc. But you also are introduced to his sidekick, Rocket.
The raccoon.
No, sorry. Her name is Rocket. Her real name is like Raquel, but she's like a tech. She doesn't have powers. She has like technology, force fields, and things like that.
Yeah.
And Raquel plays a role in the finale of Young Justice season 1. She uses her force field to contain Wonder Woman. That's how I figured out what season it was. I was like, what was the thing? But yeah, Icon and Rocket show up there. Static, who's another Milestone character, shows up later in Young Justice. Young Justice definitely has like a lot of Milestone in it. But Dwayne McDuffie, who co-created Icon, He was also like the guy behind the Justice League Unlimited like cartoon. He was very iconic and influential as a creator.
Awesome. Yeah, season 1, rolling, you bitch.
Next question.
We're leaving Facebook and heading on over to the Twitters.
Twitter.
Twitter, yeah, get Twitter. Twitter, yeah, yes, Twitter. Yeah. First question comes from our favorite spacey sexy texter. What's spacey sexy texter? Say it.
You haven't said it right once, let alone me trying to say it multiple times.
Say it.
Sexy spacey texter?
No, spacey sexy texter.
Spacey sexy texter.
Oh, you almost did it. Everyone's favorite cosmic DM. Yeah, you little bitch.
I'm just tired of fucking it up. Cosmic DM, what does he ask?
Well, he asks, how do you feel about characters like Wallace West and, Calderum? Did I say that right?
Calderum.
Fuck.
Yeah. It was close enough.
Ones that had white predecessors and just kind of took over the mantle instead of being an entirely new hero like Static. Also, is there any reason Hardware in the new Static show was white when his counterpart isn't?
Right. I actually think there's a difference between the case of Wallace West and the case of Calderum. So Calderum is Aqualad, as seen in Young Justice.
Yeah.
He's the second Aqualad, though, and he showed up after Blackest Night in the comics. So he's a very, very recent character, like 2011 or 2010, whatever that was. Mm-hmm. And his surface name is Jackson Hyde, but his name's Calderum. But he became the new Aqualad. It was just like, here's a new character. He's Black Manta's son. His mother is a Zebellian, like the same sort of faction of Atlantean as Mira.
Yeah.
So he has some of the same water bending powers, basically, like hydrokinesis. But he became the new Aqualad. He's a new character. Wallace West was like in the New 52 continuity. They were like, no, Wally is black. Like, this is Wally.
Yeah.
It was only because a bunch of people were like, my Wally has red hair, or whatever the fuck, that when they brought that Wally back, now there are two. So now there's Wally West, or there was, now he's dead again. But there's Wally West and Wallace West. So, like Wallace West as Kid Flash was initially he was just Wally. That was the version of Wally. Calderon was never the version of Garth. He was never a different race version of the first Aqualad. He was a new character.
Yeah.
Like Wallace was something different. I don't have a problem either way. I think the for some people who maybe are, I'll give a bit of benefit of the doubt. There are some people out there that are just racist and they were like, Black Kid Flash, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
But then there are other people who are maybe not hateful, but haven't explored what their own prejudices are, who, Wally West is a lot of people's Flash. He was the Flash for a long time, let alone being Kid Flash. You got to know that character, and a lot of people grew up on him and know his personality, and you saw him grow. He was an adult. He had kids. He had a wife, And then with the New 52, that was all erased. That sort of generation, the Titans, got decimated in that continuity. And I think the frustration of seeing a new character who is maybe angrier, less hopeful as the kid Wally West was. Wallace West had different issues.
Yeah.
Because in that continuity, his other uncle, Daniel, became Reverse Flash.
Damn, Daniel.
There are different factors at play. And I think people saw that and they were like, but that isn't Wally. But it's more about the characterization necessarily than the color of the skin. But they were also playing something different with that one. So I'm maybe giving too much benefit of the doubt to some people, but there was like a big issue with Wallace West, basically until they appeased fans and brought back the original Wally West, and now they both exist. But to me, those two are different scenarios. Calderon was always something new, like the next step of Aqualad. Here is a new Aqualad. He's going to take over the mantle. Whereas Wallace West was meant to be like a reinvention and until public opinion turned.
As it does.
Yeah, I don't have a problem either way. I'm always up for trying something new. But I can understand a frustration if it's about... There was a character that we followed as a kid, all the way up to him having a family. All of that shit is gone, and you're just giving us a new kid who, other than the name, doesn't even really have too much of the personality of Wally West. The one thing they did give him is that he was kind of a smart kid. He was sort of like an engineer, like a mechanic. But he was more mechanic than like classroom scientist, which was Barry and Wally.
Yeah, which I like. I mean, I like that on the show at least. I mean.
So yeah, and the show, that's such a great version. It's definitely based on that newer. It's Wallace, right?
Yeah. But I can't look. If it's racism aside, I get the this is my character suddenly.
Yes,
you're taking away that version of it and replacing it, and I think that you can want that without being racist.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do think that I think it got conflated.
Yeah,
there are some people who are racist, and then there are some people who maybe couldn't express themselves well enough to say the more nuanced point, and were just like, Wally is meant to be white with red hair. It's like, well, that's not what you're really. Well, I hope that's not what you're really saying. Hope what you're saying is, where's the character that I'm familiar with?
Yeah, like I'll give you a good example. When Wally West showed up on the Flash TV show, part of me was just like, are you replacing this Flash? Because suddenly the Flash didn't have powers, and I was like, I don't know if I like this. And that immediately gave me some discomfort with that new character, and it was hard for me to like come around to him. Yeah. So I mean, I can get it from that standpoint 100%. But yeah, I mean, basis on color is not okay, obviously.
But to sort of extrapolate from this, like, would I have a problem if they did another, sort of continuity reboot or whatever, and then all of a sudden like Green Arrow was Native American or black or whatever? Like, no, I don't give a shit. I mean, my only critique is it still has to, you can't, I think we're at the point in history now where you can't be color blind.
Yeah.
Like treating it like blah, 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 blah. Like you shouldn't ignore the differences, I guess is what I'm saying. The differences are sort of what makes us all interesting. So if you're going to change that about Green Arrow, then you have to work in like, what is the context of maybe having that wealth and losing it? It probably means something a lot different to be from a wealthy black family and lose your wealth.
Yeah.
Or have it taken away or manipulated from you than being a white person whose wealth is taken away or manipulated from. You're right. It might not, but I think there's...
We're not the ones to write that story.
No, definitely not. But those are also questions that you would have to ask, right? To me, Superman, no difference. Superman's black, no difference. Because he's still raised on Earth.
Yeah.
He's raised to be good and kind. There's nothing about Superman's circumstance or Clark Kent's circumstance that requires him to be white.
No.
At all.
No.
Other than if you're growing up in Kansas, you probably have a slightly different experience.
Potentially, yeah, depending on...
But in terms of like who the sort of person you grow up to be or things like that, there's no difference.
Yeah,
to me. But
all right, next question. Stump Chunkman asks. Well, first of all, step into the stump. Stump Chunkman. Bah! I apologize. I almost missed that.
Close one.
It's only because I'm getting to this question, which is he asks something about he asks, do we think that the new Spawn movie will be good? Is Spawn DC at all? No,
absolutely not. But Spawn, very prominent black superhero.
Yes, and maybe we weren't specific enough about that.
No, I mean I said DC in the question. You just wanted to ask about Spawn.
Yeah. Which we can address it. Sure.
Spawn, very prominent black superhero. Although, without having read actually like a ton of Spawn comics, I don't know how often you actually see him not as Spawn. So like as a representation, other than him being like, I was black, now I'm Spawn. I don't know in the comics how often you see him in like a normal form, but I'm pretty excited about it. Everything I've heard about the new Spawn movie is that it's maybe you're not following Spawn. Like it's one of those like shift of perspective things where Spawn is out there, but you're following a different character.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, like kind of when we talked to Heath about like Assault on Arkham, where it's like, what if we take a Batman game, but we follow the other characters and Batman sort of bombs in?
Yeah.
You know, that was the sense that I got. This was like years ago when they were talking about developing a new Spawn movie. I have no idea if that's happening or not. But
well, and what's his name is part of this too, McFarlane. Yeah. So
well, yeah, because he owns that's his.
Yeah,
that's
which I mean, what did you think of the original Spawn movie?
Do you know what? I don't hate it.
I liked it a lot. I haven't seen it in years, and maybe that's something that we need to do. Is maybe on the double we'll watch it. But
visually, it hasn't aged very well. But like I remember digging it. I haven't seen it in forever though, like you. So maybe maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe we could be wrong. But I remember
digging it. I like John Leguizamo as the Violator. I remember
it being so dark compared to.
Yeah,
anything else like it around the time
was because that was the whole thing with Spawn.
Well, because all I had to compare it at the time, I think, was probably like maybe the old Batman movies, and so
you would have had like the Keaton Batman.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
In a different way,
but that's what I mean. It's very much just like, oh shit, like I didn't know you could do this. Yeah. I think I was a little too young for it, to be honest. Where I was just like, this is too dark.
Sure, yeah. I think it does merit a rewatch because I think it's been too long for me to really like.
We might
as a young person when I did see it, I remember digging it.
I think we might need to watch it on a double dose because that's a good one. All right, next question comes from Talking Superman, who asks, "What's your favorite look for Cyborg?"
Yeah, so he's had a few different like costumes through the ages.
I've been really enjoying the newer version that we've been seeing, especially with like the Doom Patrol, that kind of.
Doom Patrol Cyborg looks dope.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I haven't watched the show yet, but I've seen some.
I just watched episode 2 where he comes in.
Yeah,
really loving it.
Yeah, it's like almost a variation on what they had done in the movie, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, but it's practical effects,
and
as opposed to,
and it's similar to like in line with like this guy built the robot man. He's gonna build this guy like.
Well, actually, I don't think Niles built. Cyborg.
No? Oh, okay. Because I thought it was a little bit more cruder than it was in the...
It is, but I think it's just to make it fit in like that sort of Titans world a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when Cyborg first showed up in the comics, he basically wore like a white jumpsuit with like metal garter belts and then had like a cybernetic arm and the face piece. And over time, he's gotten more and more machine. You know, like New 52 Cyborg, his body is like 80% destroyed and then rebuilt with mother box tech.
Yeah.
Which is, again, different from his original one. It wasn't a mother box that rebuilt him the first time around. So, I mean, other than it being classic and nostalgic, I don't love the white jumpsuit Cyborg.
The like $1 Million Man or whatever.
I also don't really love the initial New 52 Cyborg. He's too bulky. He's like massive. He looks like he's in a mech suit. He looks like the end of the Matrix Revolutions. Yeah. I prefer kind of where he is now in the comics. It's a very sort of sleek, shiny, smooth, human-shaped Cyborg. And you kind of see it even at the end of the Justice League movie where he kind of like reforms himself and gets like the C, symbol and stuff like that. Like I like that look for Cyborg. I like him more machine than man, kind of in the RoboCop way. But I do like it being sleek because Cyborg is cool. And the bulky, unwieldy, like it also made me think of what's the fucking guy at the end of Avatar, like the general or whatever, in whatever stupid thing he's in. I don't like that. I like him being like an approximation of who he feels he is or who he was or things like that.
I always like it when he's like the brain guy inside the stomach of that sweet potato with like 80s 3D glasses.
That's my favorite cyborg.
Yeah, it's the best version.
Your favorite cyborg is Krang.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Obviously.
Technodrome.
Next question comes from a new resident, which is James Paulson.
James Paulson has been
Active on Twitter. I've been
tweeting
enjoying
at us
it.
because he's been marathoning the show.
Which I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
So
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I can't believe that you've had to deal with those problems.
I mean, that's incredible stamina.
Could you?
What are your
measurements?
You beat me to it. Yeah.
You like a 36 chest, just curious. Do you have pectoral muscles? Could you gain them?
Nothing, Mr. Paulson.
No.
Do your parents like movies?
Yes.
James, would your parents like to go see a movie?
How do you feel about your parents?
What if I just park the car behind the cinema?
Would you say that you'd be emotionally affected by, say, your parents not being around anymore? Just a couple pops.
I hope that the big reveal in Tom Taylor's Deceased is that it was Alfred the whole time.
Nothing would make me more upset and happy at the same time. Yeah. Really been watching my mailbox, wait for that check.
God.
So let's see what James has to ask, which is, what are some good entry points for a new comic reader looking to explore some iconic Black heroes?
Ooh.
Black Lightning?
Yeah, I mean, and
that's
I
the
think,
first,
and
right?
I think specifically, like Black Lightning's original run,
which is the first run, right? Like it's like that's the first Black character that
he
we
debuted
had.
in Black Lightning #1. Yeah, and he's the first. I'm going to get this right this time. I think I've said this incorrectly before. He's not the first Black superhero. Obviously, Black Panther predates him, but he's the first Black superhero, I think, to headline their own solo series. So, like, there was a Black Lightning comic before there was a Black Panther comic.
Yeah.
Black Panther would show up in other comics.
Yeah.
Black Lightning, I would say that original series by Tony Isabella, I think it's like 11 or 12 issues. That's a great in because it sets up Jefferson Pierce as a person and as like an educator. It sets up Suicide Slum.
Jefferson.
Get the fuck out of here, Gamby. It sets up Tobias Whale. That's a really cool series. I would definitely recommend that. There's a modern Tony Isabella series called Cold Dead Hands, which is sort of set in the current continuity, but it's Black Lightning and Tobias Whale squaring off. It's a little bit different, but it's still written by Tony Isabella, the guy who created the character. So give that one a read too.
Jefferson, speaking of Cold Dead Hands, my son here really likes Cold Dead Hands, and
what?
His mother was murdered in a shipping container in front of his eyes.
What the fuck is happening?
Kicking his character from Dexter.
Oh, I haven't watched Dexter.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, that's a shame.
I mean that's why I looked so horrified.
Yeah, I was just like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
He has a dark passenger, Jefferson.
Jesus. Yeah, so I definitely recommend those.
So is there anything more modern,
I would
maybe?
also say, like...
I mean, Static Shock, but...
And some of, like, Green Lantern Corps, some of those series tend to focus a bit more on John. Not necessarily exclusively, but you do get more John in those Green Lantern Corps series from, like, the sort of modern era, New 52 and things like that. Those are interesting. There are... Let's see. I'm not going to be able to think of like an arc offhand, but there's an era of the Justice League that's it's got a pretty great lineup, but it includes Vixen. Vixen's an awesome character. JSA, if you read Jeff Johns' JSA, you get a lot of Mr. Terrific in there. But I think if you're just like looking for like a solo series or something like that, Black Lightning's kind of where it's at. I think it probably still stands head and shoulders above most other things that way.
But yeah, I mean, I would put this. I mean, I'll put this to any of our residents. At the end of the day,
recommendations.
At the end of the day, we have this one perspective, but I would love to hear from if we have any like African American or Black residents out there who like was there any like was there any Black characters that maybe drew you into comic books?
I mean, I'm also being an idiot and ignoring a thing that I said earlier this episode, but read fucking Milestone. Static, read Static, read Icon.
Totally,
like
yeah.
those are great.
But I'd be
ones,
curious
too.
to know, like, if there was any, like that actual, like, any of, like, our black listeners that were our comic book readers, if there was anything that, like, they specifically connected to that maybe helped them get into these characters. I would love to know about any of those. But
yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question from one of our newer residents. I love seeing a bunch of questions from them, which is EC.
Yeah. That's
Who asks, what black DC characters would you like to see in a movie, TV show, or animated series? I love this.
I would love.
I can tell you which one I don't.
Wow. I was gonna say I would like to see like a movie treatment for Black Lightning. I definitely want to see Vixen. I just brought her up. Vixen, Mari McCabe has the Tantu totem. She gets animal powers. There's a version of Vixen. Mari McCabe Vixen showed up as a animated series, but then also showed up on Arrow and Flash a couple of times. And then we meet her ancestor, who is a series regular on Legends. So there is a version of Vixen out there, but I would love to see like more Mari McCabe. We didn't get that much of her, like the actual comic Vixen. We've gotten this sort of new take on her. I would love to see I would love to see that because the animal powers, it's neat because she sort of channels like the spirit of the animal. She doesn't morph or anything, but she can like channel the spirit of an elephant and then be that strong, or channel, the water breathing of something else and then just breathe underwater. Like, yeah, I'd be down for that. And she's got such like a cool alter ego too. Like, there's a little bit of like the wish fulfillment thing, right? You want to be Bruce Wayne, but without the dead parents. Like Mari McCabe is like a world famous supermodel and sort of lives also that sort of high class life, but she, doesn't necessarily hail from that. And she has this totem that's passed down from this African tribe that she has all these connections to other
that's rad
cultures and places and things like that. And she's a real world traveler with her, like, not just where her powers come from, but like with her career in that. Like, you could make it a real sort of like almost like a James Bondy kind of thing.
The
like,
world is Carmen Sandiego.
yeah, or something like that. You could make it kind of like like a sort of a globe-trotty Indiana Jones
spy
or James Bond kind of thing. I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see Vixen.
I would love to see one. I mean, mostly based on just the casting, but Idris Elba as Jon Stewart.
Well, yeah, I mean, the internet's favorite fan cast is Idris Elba as insert black character.
Yes, well, yeah, but I think like the Jon Stewart is really
I think he would be dope. I agree. I can't deny that I love that. Yeah. Sorry, Tyrese Gibson. I know you really want that gig, but.
Does he?
Yeah, he's like, anytime anyone posts a fan thing, there's always a comment from Tyrese Gibson that's like, hey man, because he's been like campaigning to be Jon Stewart for like a decade. Which is kind of funny.
I want to see Kel Mitchell as Static Shock.
Kel Mitchell?
Like Keenan and Kel.
I don't think I know who that is. Can I see a picture? I don't think I know it by name.
It was like a show from like the late 90s, like a Nickelodeon show.
Oh, okay.
It's Good Burger.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The one who's not Keenan Thompson.
Sorry, right.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. Yeah, Static would be a cool one too. What would be neat for like a Static movie is you have Black Lightning in there as a bit of mentor, and then you like get rid of Black Lightning. You don't have to kill him, but like he retires. You make it like a Batman Beyond kind of thing.
Oh.
Doesn't have to be set in the future, but you just like old Black Lightning, end of his career, young Static gets his powers and goes to Suicide Slum and starts fighting crime and hopes he'll get the attention of Black Lightning because he needs to learn how to be like him, and then ends up becoming his own hero, doing things his own way. But
I think
that would be pretty dope. Yeah.
I would love that. I would also like to see like Stephen James, the guy from If Beale Street Could Talk.
Oh,
like he could
as whom?
Like I don't even know. Like really, I mean, maybe Batwing.
Oh, as like as Luke Fox.
Yeah, that would be pretty rad.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, Batwing When Batwing, that series started in the comics in the New 52, it wasn't Luke Fox as Batwing. It was it was an African guy. He was the Batman of Africa.
God, I mean that could go so wrong in so many ways, but I would love that version.
It was great. It was
I just
so
mean that
cool.
like putting that into movie could go real bad, but given the right
But he was
treatment.
like a member of Batman Incorporated, right? He was the Batman of Africa, was Batwing. And then at some point he got like retired out or something. Like something happened with his brother. And he got retired out, and Luke Fox became Batwing. And then Batwing became like basically if Batman and Iron Man were one character.
Okay, I got a pitch for you.
Okay.
Batman Incorporated as a TV show.
I'm in.
It starts out.
You just sold a pitch in the room.
I know. That's not the first time. So you start out as like you get into each episode is like the first 4 episodes there are like the individual stories of some of these characters.
Sure.
And then you get sort of like a 4 brothers, like remember that movie Four Brothers?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where they all have to go back to Detroit to like find who killed their mom.
Oh, so like Batman's
dead.
Right.
And so they all have to go back and you sort of get these sort of the last like couple episodes of them like in Gotham.
Right. So you get like Knight and Squire from Britain, and you get Batwing from Africa. And okay, interesting.
That's my pitch.
I'm kind of into that.
Call it Gotham Incorporated.
Why are you calling it Batman Incorporated?
Like, because they're all coming back to Gotham. I don't know. Because you don't want to just call it the name of the thing. Be clever with it.
I take it back. I don't want it.
Go fuck yourself. You already took it.
I signed in blood. Why would I do that?
You're like, I don't even remember doing that. It's got a knife with blood covered on it. All right, next question comes from another new resident. At least pretty sure. Carter.
Hello, Carter.
Hello, Carter. Okay, I got nothing.
Yeah, sorry, you don't get a drop yet.
Not yet, not until I get
I mean, arguably, we have too many drops.
Arguably.
We should have less.
Arguably. Hashtag more drops.
Yeah, if you want us to have more drops, hashtag Visine.
Because of drops.
Because drops.
Do you have dry or itchy drops?
Yeah, and if you don't want us to have more drops, hashtag
Ben Stein.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes as much sense as anything else we do.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, hashtag Visine, hashtag Ben Stein. Next question, which comes from Carter, which is favorite Black Milestone hero.
I'll be honest and say I haven't read a ton, but I really like the idea of Icon.
Yeah, I really like that too.
That he's sort of like, he's lived all these lives, even though it's all one life.
Cool, yeah.
But he's sort of constantly reinventing himself. But there's basically like, because he is a black man, because that's what the spaceship turned him into, because he was being found by a slave.
Yeah.
He's basically like, he's living the experience, that sort of inherited cultural history. I think there's a lot of really interesting like story narrative potential there, like all of the progress, but also all of the like road yet to come, right? You know, and the fact that he's alien, like he's chosen to be a superhero and to like fight for us, but he's also like more than Superman. He is seeing the worst of us in his alter ego, right? Yeah. Like the idea that like in every generation he is being the bigger person and he's fighting that fight and he's protecting us despite the work that needs doing or the views of peers or whatever, right? Like I think there's so much narrative potential. I mean, maybe that's a shitty white man thing to say because maybe a black hero doesn't have to be about like, are you overcoming racism? But to me, there's something interesting about the idea that he's lived so long and he has seen so much from that perspective, I guess is what I'm saying.
And he works as like a morgue worker, and that
I think he's a lawyer.
There was a TV show called Forever that lasted like a season.
Oh, that was the one with Ian Griffin.
Yeah. Which
I actually didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it either, but I only watched maybe the first 2 episodes.
It was pretty good.
Anyways,
I
next.
think it went to like a Highlander-y place though, where there was like more than one of them,
Ugh.
and he had to like the one.
There can only
kill
be
him.
one.
Yeah, there was some shit like that or something. Yeah.
Next question comes from.
Wait, do you have an answer to the previous question?
No, I don't. I don't really know Milestone.
I guess Static then, because we've seen the cartoon.
Yes, that's the one that I know. But I really like the idea of Icon, and it's something that it's a character I would like to see more.
It's a cool concept. I dig on Icon. I'm going to make a point of seeking it out and reading more because I'm interested. I'm into it.
Totally. Next question. Though his last name states otherwise, he is not a newcomer. He's been here a few times.
Okay.
This is Scott Newcomer.
Right. Scott Old Kamer.
Scott came a while ago. I think we made this joke last time.
I mean, there's no way this is original. It's our show. What are we talking about? We've never made an original joke.
Scott comes occasionally.
That makes it sound like it's involuntary.
Yeah, Scott.
Oh, like occasionally it happens. Like,
Yeah. Scott Involuntary Comer, who asks, which DC character would you like to see reimagined as a person of color? God, I love this question. How do you think it would affect their origin or backstory? Oh, this is such a good question.
Do you have an answer for this?
I do.
All right.
Well, one that like immediately popped in my head, which I don't know if it's going to be problematic or not, but let's ride that train.
Sure. Let's.
Shazam.
Okay.
Here's my thinking.
Sure.
There's two directions you could go with this. One, it's like a black kid who becomes like a big black superhero. I like the idea though of a black kid becoming a white superhero. No, here's the thing, because I think
you saw my face.
and it's the same face that my wife gave me when I pitched it to her as well.
Sure.
Here's my thinking. I just think that the
dangerous territory.
What you could do with sort of like race relations and sort of like the perspective change. You could do it the other way too, where it's a white kid becoming a black guy.
That might be worse. That's like the Teen Wolf thing, where it's like, like black people are good at everything.
Is it blackface at that point too? Ugh.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing where it's like scrawny white kid inherits the quote unquote great abilities of black people, like the athleticism and stuff. That's what that one would be.
Yeah. But here, the only reason why I thought that, because I just like the idea of the perspective change, where it's suddenly it's like you're not only like an adult, but you're also a different race.
Right. Yeah, I mean, narratively, it's undeniably interesting.
Yes.
That's tricky
territory. I know, and I know it totally is, but like there's something about that I just can't get away from.
Sure. Now the crux of this question though is it's reimagined. So this is Billy Batson.
Yeah.
So you'd like to see Black Billy Batson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think
turn into White Shazam.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting.
Who do you got?
Oh God. I think it's Black Canary. And I'm not just saying that because of the film casting, that it's a person of color playing Black Canary there, but I think I don't know what the full reasoning is, but to me, there's something about Black Canary. She's got. Yeah, I actually don't know that I know what the reason is. It's just like one of those things. It's like a feeling in my heart
that it would be really cool.
I almost feel like she just should be black, like almost
because the DC rule.
Sorry,
Black Canary.
No. I mean, if anything, that's breaking the rule because
that's right. Yeah,
female characters seldom that lines up. I don't know that I could say what now. How would that change her story? I don't know that it would too much. Maybe that's why it just feels so natural. But that's definitely one. Let's see, who else?
Who would you want to play?
I'm just excited to see the Birds of Prey version.
Yeah,
because I think I'm in for that one.
I mean, part of me just wants to like put Lupita Nyong'o like on
in everything,
like period.
Idris and Lupita.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Black characters, white characters, just make them everybody. Like I'm okay with that.
Idris Elba as Indiana Jones, Lupita Nyong'o as oh shit, what's Well, that's unfortunate and sexist. I can't think of the major female character's name for Raiders.
You know what I want? I want Medea.
Karen.
I want Medea as.
Nope.
Oh.
Tyler Perry can be Snapper Carr.
Oh God, he totally could.
No,
Everyone hates.
Who else would I want to see sort of switched up like that? Maybe like an elongated man or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think that would change?
Stretchable sleuth. I worry if maybe just in execution that looks too much like put a black person in a role that could very easily turn silly, like stretch into a funny shit. Like I wouldn't want it to be like the fucking nutty professor. Basically, is like what I'm saying. But I think the idea of just, yeah, I mean, Ralph Dibny is just such like a likable character. He's a great detective. He enjoys a good puzzle and things like that. But there's also this, yeah. I honestly, I feel ill-equipped to answer this question because I actually don't really know how I would write it differently than how they actually are. Beyond what I said earlier, which is if you pick someone like Bruce Wayne or Oliver Queen, I feel like there's something narratively about how even if nothing technically changes, the perspective is different about wealth and that character. However right or wrong that is, I feel like that's in there. Yeah, I don't feel equipped to actually like say what I would do differently because I would hope I'm not the one writing it. I would hope to God that they wouldn't be like, hey, why don't you write a brand new black version of a character?
Oh God, no!
And that's so in touch.
That's the thing, and that's why I don't want to answer the part of the question, which is like, how will it change the character? Because we have no idea.
But just my feelings in my heart, someone like Elongated Man, someone like Black Canary, I would love to see them reimagined as well.
I have a pitch for you, the one that I just came up with right now, which is...
Please tell me it's better than race switching Shazam.
Yes.
Okay.
Actress Lena Waithe.
Okay.
Which she's from like Dear White People, Master of None, The Shy. I like her a lot. Her as John Constantine.
Ooh, I kind of dig that.
Wouldn't that be? I could totally
race and gender.
Yeah,
flip.
Completely switch. Like
I like that.
I think it's a completely different take.
Yeah. Do you know what else? Do you know what else I'm into right now? And it's part of the discussion right now as people are sort of fan casting in that is like Asian Bruce Wayne. I know that's not what the theme of this episode is, but I forget who the name of the actor is, but someone keeps putting like a particular name forward, like an Asian actor, to be like, yeah, I'd see his Bruce Wayne. Like I think it works.
That's my jam right now. Okay. Next question comes from Raspberries Reviews, the kind you find on a secondhand podcast. Who asks?
That's the first time in a couple of weeks that we've like gone full out.
Yeah, because we haven't had a guest. That's why it's been a while since we haven't had a guest.
Been a while
since we haven't had a guest on this show. It's been a while
since I've gone and fuck things up.
No, we definitely did that.
I always do.
No, we definitely already did that many times.
Sorry.
Raz asks, Static is a character that I really love, but haven't seen him much in comics. What has he been up to lately? Has he had any recent stuff I could read? Or who would you cast as a live-action Static? I would want to see Donald Glover, but as like an older Static.
Right. I mean, as like when he's like part of the Justice League Beyond, like in Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
It's an older Virgil. I think
well, first of all,
as far as the comics,
where is he at right now? Yeah,
I think the most recent comics that include Static are near the beginning of the New 52. There was a Static Shock series, and I don't think he's shown up since. Like I said, continuity-wise, Rebirth is still the same. Things are shifting, histories are changing, but it's still the same world as the New 52.
Yeah.
So we can assume Static is out there. We can assume Dakota City is out there. And some of the other, like the Bang Babies and stuff like that. But I don't think we've seen Static since like, what would it have been, like 2012 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I think it's been a long time. So I guess if you're looking for something recent, read the New 52 series, but that's about as recent as you're getting, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
There's supposed to be like a Milestone relaunch, and I feel like it never happened. Like they were going to redo Milestone Media and like put out Static and Icon and stuff like that, and hardware and whatnot, but I don't think it actually happened. So that's basically as recent as you're going to get, I think, for that. Yeah, didn't you just talked about a casting you wanted?
I mean, I did, but I mean, that was mostly a joke. I think the one that I think I would like to do, again, I'm doing a little bit of a gender swap here, but Zazie Beetz from Atlanta. I think
and
she would.
Deadpool 2.
Yeah, exactly. I think she would make a really interesting Static.
Interesting.
I mean, everybody. I mean, you want Michael B. Jordan, but it's not happening.
Well, I think Static should be younger, like a Spider-Man.
Really?
Yeah, I think that works better.
Because the cartoon was more of like a teenager, wasn't he? Or
yeah,
a little later.
And I think in general, Static is meant to be young, like 16 or something like that. He's probably a bit older by now, but who's I don't know the actor's name, but who was the kid in It? I'd like to see him maybe as Static. I think that would be cool. Yeah.
Can I just put Mahershala Ali and everything too?
At a certain point, yeah. I mean, this happens with anyone in the zeitgeist, but there's also like it's definitely very clear too that there's like a thing in Hollywood which is like, well, we have a couple of people of color who are very hot right now. Put them in all the people of color roles that we've got. And it's like,
and we're falling into that trope too.
I'm trying not to, because
but also
I don't want to be like
it's
that.
frustrating because like the media is also not really giving us access to
well, but this is the thing. There's a couple that are very hot. They'll show up in everything, and then because that's how the industry works, they'd be like, well, we have a role for and it's kind of shitty that way. But I think we're seeing that shift, like we're getting, all these like, Jordan Peele has been a big part of it. A film like Black Panther, like it's shifting. But then we also like Green Book wins fucking Best Picture instead of Black Klansman or something like that, right? Like, so it goes both ways, right? Like the Best Picture was a movie about a white guy who was also present in a point in history where a black guy was doing something interesting.
Yeah, that's
a la The Help, a la look, all of those other kind of white savior movies. There's a Seth Meyers sketch called White Savior that you need to watch. It's
really? I'll have to look that up. That sounds awesome. Well, with that, the Dr. DC podcast will be back after this quick break. This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. Honestly, I've been using this product actually for a really, really long time. I, as well, have a very large beard, same as the doctor. I think mine actually might be a little bit bigger. So my favorite products are, first of all, that beard oil. I've been using it for a really long time. I've actually not had to use cologne because of it. I actually stopped using cologne because it was just, that smell of that beard oil is amazing. I also have a very rough and dry beard usually, so this has been making it super smooth. And then I have to say that my second favorite product is that Noble Selves hair styling cream. It's a medium light holding, which is really nice. It's hard to find a good holding cream for your hair. I've used waxes and gels and sprays and all that stuff, and it never really, really works. This stuff makes my hair look amazing. It holds for multiple days on end for people like me who don't like to shower. It's honestly a great, great, great product. So I've been super happy with it so far. I think you guys will be too. Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. All their products are purposely designed and environmentally responsible, handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And lucky for you listeners, you get 10% off on the Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code DRDC podcast. That's right. www.greatlakesgrooming.com, promo code Dr. DC podcast. Now, back to the show. And we're back.
Subtext hype man.
All right, let's go to the next question, which comes from Magan Maors.
Yeah, Magan Maors. This is the Let's Talk Miss Martian account. That's Magan Maors.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who asks thoughts on Tanya Spears, a character I've never heard of.
Tanya Spears is a relatively recent character. So in the New 52 run of, I think the series was World's Finest, which followed Power Girl and Huntress. And in the New 52, they were versions of Kara Zor-El and Helena Wayne from Earth 2, who were displaced to the Prime continuity.
Okay.
So when Earth 2 kicked off, you saw like the Trinity die fighting Darkseid and the forces of Apocalypse, and Helena Wayne as Robin and Kara as Supergirl were sort of thrown through a portal and ended up on Prime Earth, and then they became Huntress and Power Girl. And in that series, Kara, under her alias Karen Starr, has this very young, very brilliant, like 17-year-old, basically, like working for her like engineering company or like science firm or whatever, who is exceedingly brilliant and things like that. And I can't remember the exact setup, but basically, like, as they figure out how to get home and Power Girl and Huntress leave Prime Earth, somehow Tanya ends up bestowed with some of the power of Power Girl, and Karen like bequeaths her basically like the mantle, says, I want you to be Power Girl on this Earth. And so Tanya Spears becomes Power Girl. And she joins she's part of the Teen Titans. I think for a bit she was part of, what was it called? Defiance or something like that. It was like Deathstroke led like a young hero team for a bit. And she was part of that, I think. She's been a part of a couple of groups. I don't think we've seen her much lately. Like, I don't think she's in current Teen Titans.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a relatively recent character who basically inherits some of the power of Power Girl and is now the Prime Earth Power Girl. Kara goes back to Earth 2, and that's where we leave her, and she becomes Power Girl there. Tanya is now the Prime Earth Power Girl. Like a young, brilliant black girl is Power Girl on DC's main continuity.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next question comes from my favorite time remnant, Richard.
Jacques.
Richard asks, characters you wouldn't mind seeing as black, like they did it with Starfire. So we've kind of had this question before, or make alternate versions like Miles Morales. Yes, I'm aware he's Marvel. That's an example to calm down people. Whoever reads this, I'm yelling into space. Oh God. So we kind of had this question already.
Yeah, I mean, the Starfire thing, obviously we talked about when we were talking about the news and that, like all the racists blew up when Starfire was cast as black. They were like, Starfire's not black. It's like, no, she's fucking orange. So what do you want? But also, like,
let's take the Miles Morales approach, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's a character,
alternate Earth, or
yes,
different,
but or one already exists, and we're just adding on to this. So it's similar.
Right,
so
Miles started on the Ultimate Earth, right? So there was a Peter, and then Peter died, and Miles became Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's sort of where that happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, a great example is the CW show, The Flash, where there's multiple at all the time, right? And so, because of timeline shit, we ended up with two at the same time, but that still
Flashes,
exists, right?
you mean?
Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
So who would we like to see to like bring another one on? Which one that I immediately think of is having like another Green Lantern that was a black character. Yeah. I know we've already done that before, but it'd be interesting to have like two at the same time, one being black.
I mean, talking of the Arrowverse, I mean
that would be really interesting.
Whenever you jump to the future in Arrow, you see Connor Hawke, like the new Green Arrow, and he's Diggle's son.
That's right, yeah.
And you first saw him in the first season of Legends of Tomorrow, and we've seen him a few times because now Arrow is doing flash forwards instead of flashbacks. So I mean that's technically like that's a version of that. He becomes the new Green Arrow. Yeah, God. I liked Val Zod showing. Val Zod's a good example, actually. So on Earth 2, like I said, the setup in New 52 on Earth 2 was that we'd meet like younger versions of like the Justice Society. And the conceit, very wisely, was that Earth's Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman all die winning a battle against Darkseid and saving the Earth. And then several years later, Jay Garrick gets powers from the god Mercury and becomes the Flash. Alan Scott becomes Green Lantern. Like, we get all these other heroes in a world where we don't have to deal with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And that was a very smart way to do it. And then as things really deteriorated on Earth 2, War with Apocalypse breaks out again, we meet Val Zod, this other Kryptonian who is black, who is a pacifist, like does not want to fight. And he becomes the new Superman of Earth 2. And I thought it was like a brilliant character. I really, really love Val Zod. I would love to see more of him. I would love a Val Zod sort of Earth 2 series. But basically, he took the mantle. There was a Clark Kent Superman. He died. Val Zod came in. He was a new interpretation, new version. He became Superman of Earth 2. I think that's maybe the best example of like a Miles Morales-y kind of thing. Or Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle. You know, when Ted Kord was killed, then the new blue, like the scarab that Dan Garrett, the original Blue Beetle, had used, but Ted could never make work. But Ted never used it. That scarab ends up finding Jaime Reyes, and then this young sort of Latin character becomes the new Blue Beetle with a different sort of power set and things to Ted, because Ted was like a gadget guy, and Jaime has this alien / magic scarab that lets him make armor and cannons and all that kind of stuff. I think those are maybe the two sort of best versions of that type of thing that happened with Miles Morales.
I think one that I just thought of might be interesting is Plastic Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that might be really fun.
Yeah. Those are powers that are like relatively easily replicated. He's basically just doused in a chemical and Plastic Man. Yeah.
That could be a fun one, where especially with that character trying to like teach somebody maybe too.
Well, yeah, the idea of him being like a responsible mentor is like Jesus Christ.
So I think that you could really do some really interesting character things there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's go to the next question, which obviously you know which way this resident's going to go. The Lantern Cast.
$10 says they don't ask about a Green Lantern.
I'll take that.
No, I need that $10.
I've often said Lantern and Cast, and I'm assuming it's Bogelman.
It could be either.
Yeah. I've often said that DC doesn't know what to do with Jon Stewart. Ching! Because they keep him in his past. Anguish about Katma, or depression about Xanshi, or flashback to the angry young activist architect. So I'll ask you what I like to ask creators. How would you define Jon Stewart?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think I agree that John kind of always ends up in a weird sort of limbo situation. So some of the things that were mentioned in there, like Katma Tui, that was like a romantic interest for John that goes tragically. The planet Xanshi is the one that he sort of destroys by his own hubris. He and Martian Manhunter go to stop this bomb in the center of the planet, and he basically like makes a construct to keep Martian Manhunter out of his way. And he's like, I got this. And he gets there and the bomb is all yellow. And he's like, fuck. And the planet explodes and it's his fault.
Yeah.
And I mean, this happens with any character. You pick a couple of sort of iconic moments and then you're like, those are, to use a weird Pixar reference, those are like your core memories. That's like your Inside Out, like your... That's the thing that makes your islands in your brain.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is maybe you lean on those too much. Xanshi and Katma definitely end up being these sort of, or later, like Fatality, end up being these
Fatality.
Another Jon Stewart romance. These all end up being kind of crutches for the character. And And yeah, Jon Stewart's early appearances where he was like a backup lantern if something happened to, Hal, he was like he was a very like angry, like fuck you racists kind of guy, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a product of when he's being written and stuff too. But Jon in modern comic, I like him. I like him being that brash and that forward. Like he'll tell you how it is. And I also like Jon, because he's an architect and because he was a Marine and stuff like that. I like seeing like the discipline in him. I think the best for me, Jon's role, he's the leader. Hal's not a good leader. Hal is inspiring, and Hal is powerful, and Hal is he's like your banner, he's like your flagship, but someone still has to point him in the right direction, or like Hal can lose his way, or Hal puts too much on himself, or Hal is too willing to disregard the rules, or like all that kind of shit, right? Jon is like, he's a leader. Like I would love to see Jon lead the Justice League. I love seeing Martian Manhunter as the current chair of the Justice League, but I would love to see Jon doing that. Jon Stewart as like the person where if the Justice League has to go make a statement at the UN, Jon goes. If someone has to like make the tough decisions in the battle, it's got to be Jon. Like he's the military guy. Batman might be more strategic or whatever, but Jon, I think, is the guy that knows how to use him, right?
He's
like
a leader,
Batman, get me all of your info.
Yeah.
I'm the leader. I'll make the call. I think that's how I see Jon, and that's what I liked a little bit in Green Lantern Corps. There's this sense that Jon is taking on a leadership role, I like that. I think to me is how I define him.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice. I think it answers that question. Let's go on to the next one from our old pal,
Raging G.
So raging.
So many G's.
Yeah, so many G's.
All the G's raging. It's Raging G, about now. Raging G, just you and me. Raging G, about now. Raging G.
Oh, wow. That was such a weird, like, it's kind of like tough and cool sounding, and then you ended with That's the fucking funniest thing. I like that.
Raging G, give me a call. Raging G, I like to play with dolls.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Raging G, you and me. Raging G, let's drink some tea.
Reggie G's got a couple questions. Let's start with the first one. For Cyborg, do you think the evolution of technology all around the world led to him from being a Teen Titan to being one of the founding members of the New 52 Justice League? Or did DC tried to tick all the boxes for representation?
Right. Like, I get the sense of the question. Like, do I think Cyborg was fulfilling a particular
or were they just filling
role,
in?
or were they just like,
we need a black
guy?
Yeah.
He is fulfilling a role. And I think what's interesting, and Raging G kind of pointed to this, is that like our society has changed a lot, and technology is obviously a big part of that. Really, the role Cyborg was filling on the Justice League, I mean, literally because he replaced this character, was that of Martian Manhunter. But what's Martian Manhunter's strength that is not a power someone else has? It's the telepathy. He can mind link them. He can connect them to things. He can read people's minds. But you can kind of do that with tech. Cyborg can tap into any camera in the world. He can read anyone's email. He can, like all your files, all your transactions. Like Cyborg has access to your life. So in a way, he was like a 21st century version of what you could only be achieved with mind reading. In the analog era, it was like, oh, I looked at a piece of paper. Martian Manhunter will look at my memory and see the piece of paper. Cyborg just goes straight for the document. Right? Like, so he was literally replacing that. Now, as for, was he taking off a diversity thing? Yes, but that's not bad. right? Like wanting to make the team more diverse and including someone isn't bad. And it's sustained by story, right? You know, they didn't just like get rid of the Flash and put Cyborg on there. Like, you know what I mean? They took what Cyborg's powers were and they basically said, whose powers can we swap out? And Cyborg fits that role. And they picked the right one to swap out is Martian Manhunter. And as much as I love that character and I missed him on the Justice League for all those years, it made sense. Cyborg is the right choice to slip into that position. So yeah, I mean, that's the common argument that comes back is like diversity for diversity's sake. It's like, yeah, but that's also fine. Like everyone's writing stories, everyone's trying hard. Yeah, go for it. But I think that's what Cyborg was doing there in the New 52. And looking back, I love it. I actually think it works really well. I was admittedly one of those that was like, Martian Manhunters. Like I was that guy a little bit at the time, but I actually think it was a really smart switch to make. Like it was well planned, well thought out.
All right. Next question from Raging G. What is your least liked Black character and why? And who do you feel is the one with the most untapped potential? I'll say my first, not the one you think, though I'll get into that. It's not Black Lightning. It's obviously Tyroc.
Oh, you took mine. Son of a bitch.
You bitch.
You took Tyroc.
Well, I'll let you talk about Tyroc.
Well, so Tyroc was introduced in the Legion of Superheroes, and he was basically like a black segregationist who had who got powers by like doing different yells and chants and stuff like that, like pretty racist.
Yeah.
And it was made all the worse. And I think I've talked about this on the show before. It was made all the worse because originally I think like Jim Starlin wanted to make Pharaoh Lad black. A different Legionnaire wanted to make them black. And DC was like, no, like we're not ready for this.
Yeah.
And then Starlin ended up leaving because of what happened with Pharaoh Lad.
Oh, that's right.
He killed
Yeah.
Pharaoh Lad off because he was like, fine.
I remember you explaining
You guys
this.
don't even get this character then.
Yeah.
So he killed Pharaoh Lad off in this sort of heroic thing and he left or whatever. And then, I can't remember, whoever came in and made Tyroc was like, here's a black character. And DC was like, yeah, great. That feels right. And like
that's with our current perspective of what black people are.
It was like super racist and horrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was already racist and horrible, but then it's also the context of like, we almost got a great black character, but this is what we got instead.
Yeah.
Tyroc is definitely the worst one.
Yeah, without a doubt. You have someone that's bad that maybe could have potential.
I won't say untapped potential. But I have an example of one who I think had no potential and they tapped it all.
Oh, okay.
And it's Black Manta. Racially.
Yeah.
Like Black Manta as a character, love Black Manta. Give me more Black Manta. I love him.
Totally.
Keep him coming.
Yeah.
But when they revealed that he was black, it started like maybe a 3-issue thing. Well, yeah, it starts with taking his helmet off and saying, haven't you wondered why they call me Black Manta? And I have that issue and it's a prized possession. But it started this thing where Black Manta's like ultimate goal was to like conquer the sea for black people because they'd been oppressed on land too long.
Oh, that's an interesting
It's maybe referenced in 2 or 3 issues, and then like someone, an editor or something, was like, "Wait, what are we doing?"
Yeah,
it's like no, and they just like never revisited it again.
That's good.
And like that thing, like there was no potential in there.
No,
because again, it's always this like it's something about the 70s. It's this black segregation shit, like that. Like, well, if we can't be integrated, we'll just go over here.
Yeah.
Like.
It's like no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, there's
things need to be better.
Yeah, it was like, well, why don't we just give up on integration? It was like some horrible shit like that. So that's one that I think of that just they mined what little potential it had, and then it very wisely never brought it up again.
Good.
Raging G, I'm the living bomb. Raging Dream, brunches with my mom.
Next question comes from Mad Seb 77.
Awesome. You're so proud of yourself.
I really like Raging G.
Raging G, love and hate. Raging G, it's glasses Fabergé.
Oh, God.
Matt Sev asks, I love Mr. Terrific, not just because of who he is, but how he is written and created. I'm, cough, a youngish black man, not me, this person. And I wished he was more well known. In brackets, I don't like the Arrowverse version. How would you make him more present in the DC universe, brackets, film or streaming TV?
Sure. So, Mr. Terrific. He's actually the second Mr. Terrific. The original one was a Golden Age hero, a white guy named Terry Sloan, who wore this jacket, this green jacket that said fair play on it. And he was like just a good athlete, basically. He didn't have powers or anything. He was just in good enough shape to punch bad guys. Michael Holt, the second Mr. Terrific, is, I think, in the current rankings, he's the third smartest person on Earth in DC, behind Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne. He's like a polymath. He has like 14 PhDs. He's like an Olympic decathlete, like a gold medal winner. Like he's good at everything he does is sort of like the thing with Mr. Terrific. He doesn't have powers per se, but he has these things called T-spheres that he controls with his mask. He wears like a mask in the shape of a T.
Okay.
And these spheres are like high technology. They can scan or explode or whatever, but they also make him invisible to technology. So in a sense, that's like Mr. Terrific's powers, that he can't be tracked or scanned or traced or anything like that, recorded or anything like that. He's had some different like high tech companies. Like I think it was called Holt Holdings for a bit. In the Future's End, it was called
Holt Holdings.
It was called Terrifitech or something like that.
I wonder who owns that.
Well, because in that future, he's just Mr. Terrific. Like, he's just known as Mr. Terrific.
Okay.
But he. So he's like super smart in a variety of disciplines, from like criminology to chemistry to mechanical engineering. He's also just great at everything he does. I think he is self-described as having a natural aptitude for natural aptitudes. And so, yeah, Mr. Terrific.
So he's good at being good?
Basically, essentially. Again, not specifically a metahuman, just
good at stuff.
Insanely gifted.
Yeah.
So he's very he's an interesting character because I think there is a little bit of ego in him. You know, like he's not like a total dick, but there is something about the idea. Like, I mean, he also has chosen to name himself Mr. Terrific. He's doing it to honor Terry Sloan, and this guy's because what happens is basically like Michael loses his wife and child in some accident, and he feels like he's accomplished all he can accomplish because he's good at everything. He's going to kill himself. And then the Spectre visits him and says, like, there's more you can be doing with what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of tells him about Terry Sloan, and he's inspired and he becomes the new Mr. Terrific. Now, there is a version on Arrow. They play him silly, though. Like, he's sort of like...
With a name like Mr. Terrific, I get the impulse to do that.
But they make him like, he's like blackmail Felicity. He's like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, oh, but I'm a geek. I'm over here. But they play him with that sort of energy, and that's not how he is in the comics. He's like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And collected and smart and calculating. But also he has an ego. This is a guy who is visited by the Spectre and does not believe in God.
Wow.
Like, he looks at the spirit of God's vengeance and goes, no. like that's a bit of an ego.
Yeah.
You know? There's an interesting moment. I think it's in Infinite Crisis. He meets Black Lightning. They're on a mission to stop Brother Eye. And he meets Black Lightning, and he makes some comment about, like, why the fuck do you call yourself Black Lightning?
Yeah.
And Black Lightning's like, when I started, there weren't a lot of us out there. I wanted them to know who was beating them. And he's like, oh, okay. But he like kind of comes in with that attitude. Like,
yeah.
I think that's something interesting about him is like, he's not a showboat, but like almost that energy, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I think if I were going to put him in a movie or something like that, you want someone who is almost like that sort of big personality. I kind of like the idea of a Michael Holt who is publicly Mr. Terrific, like that future.
Yeah, I like that.
I like the idea that he's just like, yeah, I'm Mr. Terrific. And like, here's my cool technology. And like, yeah. But maybe where he is brilliant in the disciplines, maybe what he doesn't see is Batman's like, what's the worst case scenario? Like Mr. Terrific makes a bunch of technology, puts it out there, but then it's like, oh fuck, like, oh, someone bad is using my technology for this. Now I have to fix it. It's not that he's stupid, but it's he's not thinking the chess game. He's thinking like literally in intelligence as opposed to the strategic thinking. I think that's something I would like. So if I was seeing Mr. Terrific in a movie, I'd want him to be like the guy that like, kind of like how they use Cisco on The Flash. He not necessarily funny, but I'll make this like immediately make a power dampening thing that specifically works on this thing we have to fix this week. But it has a consequence or something like that. And he eventually has to sort of check his own ego. Like, maybe I can't just fix everything with the tech. Maybe there's a harder fight, like something about the social justice or things like that he also has to learn to consider. That might be where I would go with that.
You know what actor I could see totally doing that role? And we haven't really seen that side of him, but I think that he could totally pull that off, is the guy who plays Chidi on Good Place.
I don't know.
You don't?
Because I haven't watched Good Place.
Place.
But yeah, I mean, Mr. Terrific's a great character. He had a short-lived series in the New 52. The Terrifics, he's the
Mister.
He's the main character in that right now, which is a great series. He showed up a bunch in Future's End. It's a neat take on Mr. Terrific, maybe a little bit in that sort of like he really did not see what he was doing, like could have, not should have sort of version. But yeah, there's lots of cool stuff with him. And I think I mentioned off the top, Jeff Johns' JSA run, his Justice Society run. There's a lot of Mr. Terrific in there and really, really cool character.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're leaving Twitter finally and heading on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Yeah. First question from, we haven't seen this guy for a while. K-Cross 202 for life. It's been a while. I haven't gotten to do.
It's been a while.
Jesus Christ. We've hit the stain quota for the day, I think.
Never.
It's already seeped into everything.
On the outside,
I'm looking in.
I can see through you,
see your true colors. Why do if you only...
I told you, I used to be in a Jarl Rock.
I know, but why do I know this?
Oh, because
it was in the zeitgeist. Kid-Cross asks, is the new 52 Wally West just as fast as the other Wally West?
No, definitively not.
Really?
Yeah, Wallace West is not nearly as fast as Wally.
Boom.
Wally, they talk about this a lot actually in like contemporary Flash comics, but Wally like really tapped into like the spirituality of the Speed Force,
yeah,
and is very connected to it and is faster than Barry easily.
Yes, that I did.
And definitively, but definitely faster than Wallace, because Wallace isn't as fast as Barry even.
Well, there you go. Next question comes from the sexiest man alive. Speaking of Idris Elba, real Josh Gill.
Sorry, speaking of Idris Elba, white guy.
Well, no, I meant because of the sexiest man alive.
Right.
I think Josh could be 2019's sexiest man alive.
Oh, sure.
Who asks, is Detective John Jones canonically black or white? I've seen him drawn both ways and was curious which came first. Well, I'll tell you about both ways, Mr. Josh Gill.
Jesus.
I may have a wife, but yeah.
I mean, his original one it was white. It was the 50s or the 60s. Martian Manhunter became a white guy in his secret identity. But yeah, most modern takes, including animated movies like Justice League 2,
that's what I know him as,
including
as a black guy,
Young Justice and things like that. Does it include Young Justice? Well, definitely like Justice League Doom and some things like that. But most modern takes, John Jones, his Earth identity is black. Yeah. And that's basically stuck. I mean, there might be the odd time where it's drawn differently, but I think generally speaking, if you're talking about Martian Manhunter in the last like 15 years, he's probably black as John Jones. But yeah, definitely started white in the pre-crisis era, but since then that's changed.
So would you say canonically?
Yes, canonically black.
Nice.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Robbie's Just This Guy. You know what?
It's a real self-esteem thing.
Well, also, I think that maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm Robbie, not the guy that killed him and is wearing his skin. That's certainly not true.
Okay, so instead of it being that he has low self-esteem, you actually think that he's trying to like throw people off the scent?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Robbie's just this guy. I mean, not anybody else. Why would that be possible? It's not like somebody like killed his family and wearing his skin.
Next week, we're going to get a question from Robbie's just holding this shovel for a friend.
It's just a coincidence that
those aren't my drugs.
Robbie went to whatever high school Robbie went to. I don't know. I'd have to look at the documentation.
Robbie's wondering why you're asking so many fucking questions. Asks.
So currently, Robbie's Just This Guy asks, is Icon from Krypton? I know it was a possibility, but are there any definitive answers?
I think definitively he is not.
He is not. Where is he from? Space?
His alien name, if I'm not making it up, it is Arnus or something like that, like Arnus.
It's Robbie's Just This Guy.
Robbie's Just This Icon.
Jacques.
I don't remember the name of the planet, but he's from another planet. Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here because I do want to have like an actual answer. But I'm. Oh no, sorry, that's what it is. He's Termian or Terminian or Terminin. He's from Terminus. Yeah. So yeah, he's not Kryptonian. Yeah, I know in Young Justice they say it too. Like there's the idea that Superman wants him in the league because he thinks he's another Kryptonian. They do have very similar powers in that. And Superman, obviously, depending on the iteration, ages slower as well. So even that isn't necessarily a distinguishing feature. But I think even if we didn't know the name of Icon's planet, we would know for a fact that he wasn't, because his physiology is changed to look human. Like the ship that he's in makes him look human and makes him black in order to blend in. Whereas Superman would have looked like that if he crashed on a different
anywhere
planet.
Yeah.
And you know the like President Superman from Earth 23 is from Vathlo Island, where like the black Kryptonians are. Again, weird like segregation thing, but like he would have shown up that way anywhere too. Yeah. So I think that's the clue always, that Icon was never Kryptonian. But yeah, he is from I think it's called like Terminus the Collective or something like that. So he's Terminin or Terminian or whatever the adjective is.
Yeah. Okay. Last question from Instagram is from he got in twice today. Stump Chunkman. Step into the stump again.
Stump Chunkman. I really tripped over that one.
Yeah, sorry, it's okay.
You threw me off with the again.
I know, it's okay. He asks, he asks, how much does Richard like Black Lightning? All right, look, I'm just going to say this. It's not that I don't like Black Lightning. It's that I hate James Remar with a fiery passion that has made it impossible to watch Black Lightning. Do I think Black Lightning without James Remar is a good show? No. I think that there's a ton of issues. Do I think that the actor who's playing Black Lightning is bad? No, I think he's great.
Yeah,
I think that I think that what he's doing with the character as Black Lightning, I don't really enjoy, but I really like him just as Jefferson Pierce. I think that
his Jefferson is great. He's such like an inspiring teacher and principal.
Yeah.
I love his Jefferson.
Like if you just
and I like him as a family man, like the sort of atmosphere they have with their daughters and that. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, like beyond the like keeping secrets from the family, breaking up their marriage because he was a superhero sort of thing, but but like, you know, the way they handle issues, or they have these family sit down things, it's like, oh, like that's
if
that's
you just
admirable.
made him as like a teacher in like an inner city school that like was
You just
inspired.
want like Saved by the Bell set in Freeland.
Yeah. I would like if they just were like they didn't have the power stuff. I think it'd be a great show. I think that the actors in it are really good, but whenever they have to
Power
like
stuff is weirdly the weakest part of that
It's-
show.
I
which
just-
is the opposite of like the Flash.
and that's what I mean. Like I think that they're not, and maybe in future seasons they'll do this, but for me they're not doing anything interesting with like the writing.
Right.
I think it's just like here's a character that has to come up against this character, and it's just like well, how are they going to do it? Rather than like the Flash, which takes really interesting takes on sort of like time travel, and they have really interesting story telling. Or the Arrow like is this really broad universe with like it's show, and I like that not much. I don't really like the Arrow, but I think I think that they've created this really interesting universe that they play within, and it's really intricate. So that's really good. And then Supergirl, the working of her alien versus her humanity. I think that, but I just don't know what Black Lightning's doing anymore. For me, it's. I think that they're not really playing with the racial side of it as much as I think that they could.
It started that way. The first
and that's what
really
I
like
thought.
leaned heavy on it in the beginning, and then it became too bogged down in like government conspiracy story.
Yeah, which like look,
Which you can
Supergirl's
still
doing
make,
that though, but like
and it's still connected. Like the government is there's a conspiracy, and they're preying on black kids. Like that, you can still make it that. But I do think they lost that plot though.
I think where they lost that was with fucking James Remar. I think that like
I'm a tailor.
Yeah.
What would I know about it?
Yeah.
Come to my highly advanced basement.
It's so bad. And so for me, it's not that I don't like Black Lightning, it's that I hate James Remar, and I think that they're not paying enough homage to Black
He doesn't
Lightning.
like it's not that he hates Black Lightning, it's that he hates White Tailor.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's head on over to our last location, which is Reddit.
Where everyone is nice and no one's ever mean.
That's correct. And the last question for the day.
I mean, that is true in our subreddit.
That's true. Everyone is really nice there. Except for me when I come on there and call everybody incel cucks.
Yeah, you need to stop doing that, man.
I'm sorry.
Also, fuck you for working that into yet another episode.
All right.
Last
Last
like fucking Where's Waldo?
you never know what's going to come.
Where's the timestamp where Richard says incel cuck?
So on Reddit, we have a user Iron Joker 33. Never say die, Iron Joker. Never forget. Who asks, what is the worst example of the black character naming convention generally used by comics, i.e. black characters who are male having black in their name or females with black in their name being anything but black? What era was it the most for this type of naming scheme to be used?
I don't know if there's a particular era, but maybe the 70s. I mean,
Silver Age?
I mean, well, or like getting into Bronze Age a little bit. I guess the thing with Black Manta is that he was around for a long time, but he wasn't revealed to be black until the 70s, which is also when Black Lightning came out. I mean, not like in the same year or anything, but like, right? Like same sort of era. Bronze Tiger he's in there too. I think that kind of counts because they're basically saying like he's not white. Black Spider, I think, is another one. There's quite a few. I don't know that I can necessarily pin down an era, but I think it's not outrageous to say the 70s was probably it. The worst one has to be the Black Manta one, just because it's lazy. Mm-hmm. Like, Black Lightning was always black, and even though it wasn't necessarily in there, they retcon it later. But like the idea that he wants people to know that he's black because he's standing up for his community, and that is good. But they'll be like, oh, who's a character called Black Manta? Well, what if the reveal was that he's a black man? Like, Jesus Christ, like a fucking lazy thing to do. It's actually not problematic the other way, like with the women, that they're just a character with black in their name. Like, I mean, maybe it's problematic that there's I don't know that I can think of one who is black and has black in their name.
Yeah.
But
I like the idea instead that it's just like, why do you think they called me Black Manta? He raises, he's actually like a manta ray.
you laugh. There's a brief period in the comics where he was.
No.
After he sells his soul to Neron for more power, he becomes this like horrible like manta creature. So you laugh, but that literally has happened.
That's really funny.
Haven't you wondered what? You just put the emphasis on the other word. So in the
Why they call me Black Manta.
And it's like, Black Manta.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, that's probably the worst one. It's so fucking lazy.
Exactly. Well, that was the end of the questions this episode. Let's hope we can keep this creativity train rolling with our next segment.
Jesus.
We're on to this week's Dial Doc.
That's right.
Now, if you're a new listener, what this means is this is a callback to the old Dial H for Hero comics of yore, which are now coming back again. But the idea is basically that a character will dial hero into a payphone and become a hero of choice. Could also dial in, I think, villain and
or evil,
something like that, and would become a villain. So this week's Dial Doc, do you have something, or do you need me to do mine first?
You go first.
Okay. My character's name
Please don't make me edit this out.
is Incel Duck.
No. Jesus Christ. Oh, I hate you so much.
He's a villain who
God damn it.
He's a villain who chooses not to commit crimes because he thinks that the heroes make it too difficult.
I mean, I'm shaking with rage. Jesus Christ. Incel Duck. Fuck you. Have we officially exercised it now? Was this like the Morrison thing? Is it done? Are we done with it?
Also, he likes to like invite other villains in to commit the crimes that he was hoping to commit. And then he likes to watch them do it.
Jesus.
Maybe I have. Oh God, that was good.
Incel Duck.
So like, you didn't know that was coming, did you?
Well, I should have guessed.
Yeah.
I was actually, there was a part of me as I was driving over here, and I was like, I wonder when Richard is going to work that into the Dial Doc. I actually was kind of thinking it, and I was like, oh, he said it in the episode.
Yeah.
We're done with that. Like,
Yeah.
He got it in. He'll be happy.
Not at all.
Fuck. Okay. Mine is called Solid State.
Like Solid Snake. Oh, because the hard drive.
No.
Okay, what's his deal?
What Solid State can do is render anything like completely like immobile. Like if you can imagine 100% friction.
Oh, I can imagine 100%
so can
friction.
could possibly just stop all the air in the room, so you actually couldn't move through it. It would be like it was solid, or if a car's moving, you just stop it dead, keep it there, or something that would ordinarily fall off like a wall, like could stick things to other things, because he would just basically give things 100% friction. They couldn't possibly move.
Like when you see Jason Momoa.
Well, yeah, I mean. that dial H is more like fuck me, Jason.
Oh my God.
My dial H for this week is fuck me, Jason. He's when you dial the dial and you turn into fuck me, Jason, you basically, your power is begging Jason Momoa to have sex with you.
Isn't that just called Dr. DC?
And then when he doesn't have sex with you, you blame other people and you turn into Insult Duck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So Solid State basically can give anything 100% friction.
Nice. That's actually not that bad of an idea.
Thank you.
I'm surprised.
Wasn't looking at the hard drive.
No, not at all. How could that be possible? All right, that was it for our Dial Doc. We would love to hear what characters you can come up with. You've already sent in a bunch this week.
Yeah, I love it.
I'll give you a little hint. There may be in the future we may be doing something with some of those characters. So send them in, because we're gonna potentially do something on our Patreon.
That's right.
But the only way that you can get those in is by using our various social media platforms that exist. So, one, you got to use the hashtag DialDoc to send us your idea for a hero or a villain.
Yep.
Or you can also just send us questions for our next episode, which is going to be...
It's going to be Order and Chaos. We're going to be talking about like the literal forces of order and chaos in DC.
Ooh, can you give us an example?
And their various lords and avatars like Dr. Fate or like Hawk and Dove.
Ooh, nice.
Characters like that. So,
nice. Yeah. So if you want to either send your hashtag DialDoc or send us a question for Order and Chaos, all you have to do is use these platforms. Our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Our Twitter,
at Dr. DC.
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Send us an email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
Yo, you could jump on that subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
Also, not only can you talk to us online, but you can also read some of our DC specific articles or review our many merchandise wares. Khajiit has many wares.
You're just always this close to being fucking Watto. I can tell, like, you're like,
hey, we got many wares.
Hey, are they going to buy a t-shirt?
No, they won't. No PT public, no merch, no beer.
So you can do so on our website,
drdcpodcast.com or .ca.
That's right. And don't forget, we haven't gotten a call in a while, but you can send us a voice message. All you have to do is call us on the doc phone, which is
208-917-3238.
That's right, 208-917-DCEU.
It's finally committed to memory.
That's right. Also, of course, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon account.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. Only $5 a month. You get a full extra episode every week.
That's right. And they get weird. And they're going to get weirder.
They get weird. They go off DC or on DC or...
Yeah, we've got some interesting ideas coming up where we may be having a special guest coming up in this next episode.
That's right.
All you have to do is just subscribe. So go to our patreon.com/Dr. DC.
No, just Dr. DC.
This is just Dr. DC. There you go. And also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes with a little write-up, something there nice. We're at like 24, 25 right now. So if we get us to 30, we'll do a live stream episode. You can see our beautiful faces in person.
That's right. We will make it a visual medium.
Yeah.
But we'll record it in front of a blank white wall.
It wasn't white to begin with, but we've done a lot of these episodes. And
I'm thinking about Jason Momoa.
That's right. So... all you have to do is just go onto iTunes, leave us that 5-star review. We will talk to you either Friday or next week. Same doc time, same doc channel. Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
Superman, Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
Raging G, I don't give a fuck. Raging G, I only bath with a rubber duck.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Raging G. I'm not an incel duck or something.
What do you think I am?
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.